If you're watching the Barrie real estate market, you're probably hearing lots of different stories. Some say it's crashing, some say it's doing better, some say it's stable. In this video today, I'm going to go through what is actually happening in the Barrie real estate market. I'm going to cover off some numbers in there, I'm going to cover off a bit of stats in there, and I'm going to cover off what buyers are interpreting this market as, and I'm also going to look at why certain inventory is selling and why isn't other parts of the inventory equation is not selling. So stick around for the entire video. Lots of great information coming your way. Are people confused? Well, there's a few reasons why people are confused. They're seeing a range of different product being listed at different price points. Whether it's a low range, high range, mid range, there's a lot of different pricing strategies going on and a lot of different pricing that isn't really matched to what a buyer is willing to pay. And I'm seeing this all the time. I'm seeing some homes getting listed and selling relatively fast because they're using the data. And that's so important today is when you're looking at the data, what is selling based on the product that you're trying to sell. And buyers are looking at that data. And I've said in other videos, they're living on house stigma that tells them exactly what's going on. They see days on market. They see histories of the listings. So they're actively using today's new platforms, in a sense, for guidance. And that's what I'm seeing with a lot of my buyers. They live on that platform. And buyers have a lot more choice today. Currently in Barrie, we have 671 active freehold listings. For the month of June, for the stats, we saw 708. So inventory is coming down, but not in a way rapidly, because it's not. We're seeing single digits at times, and it's not a really true reflection of what we're seeing in the market. And I want people to take note of that. We still have an abundance of inventory. When we're seeing 21% selling month over month and 79% not selling, that's an issue. And that's an issue that should really, raise some eyebrows. So when you see numbers like that, we know the market isn't performing. We know what is lagging. We know that pricing strategies are off. We know pricing isn't priced isn't correctly matching what buyers are willing to pay for those properties. And it's normal. We've been seeing this for the last few years. And then, what I do see is when a property is priced accordingly for today's market, it sells. So I really question, can we do more transactions? Yeah, I think we can if pricing was better. And keep in mind, when we're looking at different price points in this marketplace, the higher we go, the smaller the market is for higher price point properties due to qualifying, due to income levels, due to interest rates. So those type of properties in the mid-range, let's just say 7 to 9, take some time to sell. We're seeing about 82%. No, I think the number's higher. I had it in the back of my head and I forgot. I think it was 85. Anyway, we'll go with in the 80s is not selling in that 7 to 9 range. When we're seeing 18, 17, 16% turning over every month. And I was out with a client yesterday, a new client that I'm working with. And after every showing, we pull up on the computer in the car and we look. And every one of the showings that we viewed yesterday had massive days on market. I'm talking months. And that's normal. And then we see, holy cow, it finally sold. And I'm talking 100, 150, 200 grand. Where they started from. So get it. If I was a seller, I would want the most amount of money possible. Any seller would. But if the market isn't there for that today, you're not going to get it. And what ends up happening is that you end up getting less because the market is changing. This market is changing month to month. Inventory is not really coming down. Single digits, that's small. We're talking 8, 7, 9 listings. Big deal. It's not coming down. And we're moving into a fall market shortly. 5 weeks left of summer, we'll say. Kiddies back to school. We'll start to see an uptick in listings. We are. So now there's more competition. And buyers, as I mentioned, have a lot of choice. They're not making decisions fast. They're not. I have a couple first-time buyers. They take their time. If it isn't perfect when they walk in the door, or there's something that scares them in the property, time to go. Even though I like it, I'm scared of this, or I don't know how much this is going to cost me later on down the road, and they move on. So what does that mean for sellers? I talk about it all the time. I talk about how important it is to make sure that the home is prepped for sale. Take your time, sellers. Don't rush that process. It is a process that is not to be rushed. If you want to keep a buyer in your home longer, maximize presentation. And I'm not saying going out and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens and twenties of thousands of dollars. Nope. I'm talking some paint. I'm talking really deep cleaning paint. Floors are in good shape. It's okay if it's dated. People at Barrie's got a lot of older homes in it, a lot of older subdivisions. Buyers aren't expecting all the bells and whistles. Some are, but they're willing to pay for it. So they're not really looking at that home that needs a lot of updates. They want something more, and they're willing to pay for that. So just remember that. Take your time and definitely put a focus on presentation. And just not the interior. You gotta look at the exterior. It's just as important. Look at the driveway. Look at the lawn. Look at the flower beds. Everything. Look at the trees. Be very selective and be very detailed. Because I tell you right now, the sellers that put in the time, they get rewarded. But price has to match what is going on in this marketplace. If it's not matching, it's gonna sit and sit and sit and sit. And I got this question asked the other day from a listing that I may have coming up. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I really wanna take it because the home needs extensive amount of work. The seller is on the fence about doing anything, and they have a tenant upstairs. And I walked that property today. To my surprise, it was better than I thought it was gonna be. So, but there's still work to be done. And the lower level needs some work, but when we were talking price the other day, and I said, I can't give you an evaluation until I look at the top. He was hoping for a number he just spit out there, and I went, you're never getting that. And in his first remarks were, can we try? Why try? I can prove to you that it's not gonna work by just showing you data and showing you listings that have sold that are superior to what your property is today at this price point. So, too many optimistic sellers out there? Yes, there is. And they're tough to convince. And as an agent that is very data driven, I'm gonna say it, I only take the stuff that I know I can sell, because everything else to me is a waste of time, where I'll end up losing the contract anyway because I can't sell it. And then I'll have to open house it every single weekend, and that doesn't really sell houses today. So it's just a lot of extra work, and there's no outcome at the end except even more frustrated seller. So anyway, enough about that. I wrote some of these numbers down, and I think they're important to share. So this is June. We don't have July stats out, but this is the closest thing to it. But I'm going to cover off of amount of actives in each price range from 500,000 right down to $1 million and above. So we saw in that low range, we are seeing good activity. We are. We're seeing, for the month of June, we saw a 67% increase in transactions over last year. That's huge. Where is that coming from? That's your question you're going to ask me. It's coming from first-time buyers. We're seeing them return to the market because pricing has became more in their affordability zone. A couple years ago, they thought they were pushed out. They're never going to be homeowners. So a lot of them are coming back. But out of that, even though 67% transactions up, we're not seeing price movement upward. We're not. There's demand there, but we're not seeing prices move up. Out of the inventory, there is, in that 5 to 6 range, there's 94 active listings. 32% are selling, 68% are not selling. Big numbers. And as we progress in price, we just see more of a percentage of not selling. 6 to 7, 153 listings. 29% selling, 71% are not selling. So why aren't the other 69, 71% not selling? Well, we know why. Maybe it's not the right property, but 9 times out of 10, there's two things: pricing and presentation. That's why they're not selling. Number 3, 7 to 8, very, very tough range. It's one of the hardest, to me, it's one of the hardest ranges to sell in today. Just because it's not a first-time buyer property, and it's kind of not that trade-up kind of property too. So a smaller group can afford that 7 to 8 range in a first-time buyer. A person that's in a townhouse today is not moving to a 7 to 8 property unless it's got some size. Some are, depending on the size, but it's a very, very competitive range. We are seeing 152 listings, 25% selling, 75% not selling. I want to get these numbers done. 8 to 9, 133 active listings, 38 down 38% from last year, 14% selling, 86% not selling. 9 to a million, 66 listings, 13% selling, 87% not selling. And a million and above with 110 active listings, 10% selling and 90% is not selling. Those numbers are consistent, folks. Those numbers have been consistent for the last few years in the same percentages. It's a tough real estate market out there today. I know you're gonna ask me, so Mark, what's selling? I'm not gonna go through the price categories, but I'm gonna let you know what is selling today. If the property is priced correctly for the market, it is selling. If it has decent presentation, move-in ready, it is selling. So what's the opposite of that? If it's not priced properly and presentation is lacking, it's not selling. And then in those properties, we further see massive reductions. And most, I shouldn't say most, a good chunk of them will say, we'll just let the listing expire and say, you know what, I'm giving up. This just isn't the market for the price I want. And that's the case for a lot of the properties today. You know, well, if there's not a reason to move or to sell, don't sell in this market. If there's a reason for you to sell in this market, whether it's job transfer, downsizing, upsizing, whatever, sell. But you're gonna have to be realistic in the price point. And a lot of people are still attracted to the pricing that we saw a couple years ago. That market's not here. The biggest buyer opportunities today in this marketplace. Well, as I mentioned, a lot of buyers are keeping themselves educated on house stigma with days on market, watching properties. I have a couple, we're watching them. We're not ready to make a move because the prices are too high. Speaking with the agents, sellers want a certain number. Okay, we'll wait or we'll find something that comes up and meets it. So it's a hard thing to get a deal done today in a sense because we need a willing seller. And when I'm representing buyers in transactions and I'm looking at days on market as guidance and I'm looking at price movement down, I'll assess things. And if the home is vacant, that's another opportunity for a buyer because no one wants to be paying for something that they're not occupying. So there is some opportunities in that part of it. So definitely pay attention to the vacancy and definitely pay attention to days on market because you can negotiate harder because you have choice. It's a lot of product. We just covered it all off in the percentages. It's not great. So that's leverage for a buyer today. In saying that, I've had negotiations fall flat due to seller not agreeing to our price. So what do? We move on. We don't talk about it. We just go, okay, you know what? This is what can happen. And the buyers are educated up front to saying, hey, hopefully we're successful, but there's a good chance that we will not be successful. If we're not, don't be upset about it. We just move on. Because my job isn't to convince a seller, even though I have all the data to back it up. And do I pull out those tools? At times I do and communicate to the agent and I'll rhyme off stats when they're trying to say, oh, it's great value there. No, it's not great value there because this is how much the inventory is not selling. So it's not great value. So I actively shut them down if they start telling me that stuff that it's a great deal or you know, you can't find another house like this, and I hear all kinds of stories. So I shut them down because I have the hard data. I encourage both buyers and sellers always to be data driven all the time. Seller mistake is pricing too high. Let's try this price. Let's see if someone will bite. They're not biting. And often the prices are 5 to 10% higher. So you get a lack of showings. When I say 5 to 10%, that may seem like a small number, but when you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, that becomes a very large number. So if the pricing is off to what the market is willing to pay for that type of property today, it's just gonna sit. It's not gonna do anything. So, and I'm not even, do I say try a higher price for 2 weeks? No, I really don't. I'm the opposite. Try a price that the market is today because competition is fierce, right? And it depends a lot on people's motivation, but Once you overprice something, it's hard to get them back and looking at it. You lose negotiation power right off the bat. Time will do that. Days of market will grow. Buyers will go, hey, you know what? This has been listed for 60, 90 days, nothing. Even when you have some price changes. And then what happens is that buyers will often go, I wonder what's wrong with it. It's not selling. And even when the price could be matched properly to what the market is, the problem there is they've waited too long. Buyers have forgotten about it. So, and I know there's a lot of inventory out there, and you probably, are sick and tired of hearing my voice about sellers not pricing properly. But I'm only saying it because I'm data driven. I'm only saying that because I'm looking at the numbers, what's selling and what's not selling. So the numbers are telling me two different things. Hey, don't get me wrong. I'd love every seller to get exactly what they want. It's just the reality of this market isn't that way right now. What do I think that will happen next? I think he will be in the same kind of a strategy of more what we're in today. Pricing is number one, presentation, and data driven. That I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I'm not seeing numbers pick up to say that demand is picking up. I'm not. Or we're starting to see some increases on some pricing. We're not seeing that. So I think this will continue for some time. I think competition will continue to be fierce for sellers. And for the buyers, I think the buyers have more opportunities today than ever in a sense of selection. Right? And as I mentioned, I have a couple. What are they looking at? They're looking at the best of the best. That's it. So that parameters could be wide in a sense, and price points and locations could be wide, but most are looking closely at the presentation. They want something more turnkey. And they don't mind doing some paint and that, but they don't have a budget to do extensive renovations. If there's property that needs extensive renovations and is priced with that taking into account, yeah, it will sell. But you have to make sure that the pricing is there to support the value of that property. If it's overpriced, it's just, you're doing yourself no good. Encourage viewers, if you have any questions, leave a comment. Give me a call, drop me a text, 705-309-5300. I love getting comments, and I love answering people's questions. This is a market where you should be asking lots of questions because the dynamics change quickly. So, you have them, ask away. I'm Mark Turcott from Right Home Realty, and I'm here to help you make better decisions in real estate today.
Campbell Bay has 3 luxury waterfront condo buildings located right on the bay and the waterfront trails.